RTL MapleStory, for all its charm and acclaim in the world of old school MapleStory servers, is not perfect. As much as the staff work tirelessly to combat hacks, some still manage to slip through. Let's start with the most common hacks on RTL MapleStory worlds and gradually make our way to the most degenerate and mind-bending of hacks. Coming in at our 5th place, we have the good old-fashioned botters. If you've played RTL and made it off the Maple Island, there's a good chance you've already seen a botter in action. These guys range from every region to every level range and can either be found alone in the map or show up in hordes. Back in October 2024 during RTL's release, these botters were more timid about their operations and only chose to operate in the most desolate of maps that no players ever go to. However, once they realized how unwilling and unable the staffs were in taking action against their programs, these botters began a mass migration into the more popular maps in RTL MapleStory worlds. In present day, they can most commonly be found in the hidden street map One Left Appendices called Someone Else's House, which is pretty fitting because it doesn't matter how many times you change channels, this map will always belong to someone else. There's an incredibly healthy spawn rate of orange mushrooms here, the iconic mascot of old school MapleStory. According to the RTL drop table, orange mushrooms have a chance in dropping shoes for jump 10%, which can fetch for considerable sums on the auction house. In fact, the mesos one can acquire if they find a shoes for jump 10% is so vast that finding such a scroll before reaching level 30 can allow a player to exceed the entire bankroll of certain second job players. It's that profitable. It's no wonder that so many botters operate on this map to rack up some sweet gains. It's also been exposed on the main RTL Discord where screenshots of such botters were leaked, showing remote desktops of multiple RTL clients open, farming at someone else's house on one PC. While botters are a pain in the butt and watching one operate in live action just feels wrong, there are much bigger offenders down on this list. Because botters are so commonplace now on RTL, both the staff and the community have taken a stance similar to California where petty thefts under $950 will no longer earn a person any charges. For this, we place botters at the very bottom of this tier list. We don't respect you botters, but thank you for keeping the economy flowing and scroll prices cheap. Next up is the logical evolution of botters, hackers. One can argue the presence of hackers is just as equally rampant as botters, if not more so. In fact, most bot clients are allegedly to also include hack functions. It's just most botters are too scared to turn on the likes of no knockback, VAC-LUDE, and God mode, thinking that it will decrease their chances of bans. They're like Sukuna willingly choosing to operate with 2 fingers, but whether it's 2-finger Sukuna or 20, both are cursed as fuck. Hackers, unlike botters, tend to stick to the more obscure maps even to this day. On RTL, there's a function that allows you to see all the players on the same map as you and make a report if you find their behavior sketchy. While botters can still somewhat justify their actions if they're merely walking back and forth and using a skill once in a while, a la macros, there's no explaining your way out of straight up teleport hacking. Because of this, hackers tend to stay out of sight of other players. Since players tend to gravitate to maps with good drops and hackers are scared to be spotted there, they tend to dwell in the darkness of the Maple world, in the depths of Ludibrium or Sleepywood, racking up nothing but ETC drops and pure mesos. But boy, do those things add up. And while botting for scroll drops and funneling them into the economy is good for their player base, hacking for mesos only leads to one place. To the players who prefer to play old school MapleStory like they're really back in 2006, aka splash out on some real world trades, which is a bannable offense if not done through the correct measures. And there's only one correct measure, which is by charging real coins to the game, then buying stuff in the cash shop, then selling those items in the auction house. Together, the existence of hackers and botters has finally reached a tipping point where the RTL team was forced to take measures. They finally implemented several systems designed to hinder the viability of hacking and botting. And I'm pleased to say, none of it worked. In fact, it just made the game harder to play for regular legit players. We've got a new reCAPTCHA, guys. These used to be your basic room questions akin to those seen on global MapleStory. But at some point in time, the RTL development team collectively lost their marbles to the pressures of botters and hackers and started doodling random shapes on their screens before making us guess what it is they just drew. I mean, seriously?
What the hell is even that?
Next up is the DDoSers. I'm not sure whether DDoSers are actually categorized as real players. They're the only entry on this list that are not motivated by making gains in the game. In fact, they actively do the exact opposite. Making this game completely unplayable is their goal, and when this isn't possible, they turn to other crucial functions that just as equally hinder the enjoyableness of the game. For the past couple months, RTL has been under constant DDoS attack. While the gameplay hasn't been affected much by it since it's basically single player anyways, everything went south after DDoSers turned their attention to the auction house. A quick crash course of what DDoSing is for those of you who are unfamiliar. The act of launching a DDoS attack, otherwise DDoSing, entails sending multiple packets of information to a service at a speed and volume that is not normally possible, causing the service to essentially blue screen itself from all the requests being made, making whatever the service is go down. In our case, it was the auction house. The auction house on RTL saw a downtime of almost 2 weeks prior to the release of 4th job advancements. For almost 2 weeks, players could not buy anything or search anything. But honestly, this was not that big of a deal, because players couldn't list anything. You also couldn't collect the items you had listed for sale. The only reason why Auction House even became available after the release of the event was because the developers had imposed some impossible restrictions on how the auction house can be interacted with, and it's absolutely game-breaking. Players under 30 are now no longer allowed to even enter the auction house, while players under 55 are only allowed 5 purchases and 1 sales slot a day. Oh, and 3 searches. There's also a high request delay, meaning that you can only conduct 1 action in the auction house before having to leave then re-enter again. What's scary is that this was not listed as a temporary solution, but instead seems to be a permanent. We've always intended this type of addition to the game. For the achievement for making the game basically a baby reboot where you can't even change channels, I want to inaugurate DDoSers to the 3rd place bronze medal in the tier list of the worst hacks RTL has seen. Congratulations, and please accept your dub. Before moving into our top 2, I sincerely hope you're enjoying this video thus far. If you have a quick sec and don't mind helping me upload this video to hack the algorithm, I'll really appreciate it. Now let's get on with our 2nd and 1st place contenders for the worst hacks on RTL MapleStory Worlds. Coming in at the 2nd place are the providers of hacked clients. Not the ones actually doing the hacking or botting, but the ones distributing the clients. You see, for RTL's coming up 6-month run to date, there has been numerous clients circulating with features such as bots and macros, usually distributed for a monthly subscription fee and advertised in Discord groups or forums. The creator of these would release the client, create guides on how to get it to work, and remain active in helping their customers troubleshoot any issues they have in the Discord servers. That is until they reach a point where they decide their book of business has gotten too big. At this point, all hell breaks loose. There's been numerous cases and meltdowns of hackers allegedly to have their hacking accounts hacked by the hacker man who provided the hacks in the first place. In addition to that, since the source of the hack was from the hacked client, it's not uncommon to see other information stolen or straight up brute force from a keylogger. Credit card informations, personal documents have all been leaked in these exit hacks. While the placement of such an entry is quite convoluted, I want to be as fair as possible. Even though these guys built the hack clients and caused undefinable chaos in the RTL world, the act of exit hacking the hackers is just way too epic. Also, if it wasn't for them, someone else would have made a client anyways, since the security settings of the game is so apparently easy to exploit. For this reason, it's earning them 2nd place on the worst hacks of RTL leaderboard.
RTL Gaming, they ain't never seen my swag.
And now for our esteemed king of game-ruining hacks, please welcome our 1st place contender. Have you ever been in a party quest or a party training with some priests and attackers, or just hanging out at Hennessy's Park when you've suddenly realized you've clicked with someone there? You feel a connection to them. You talk, get to know them better, and even added that person onto your buddy list. You've made a friend. A truly memorable moment. These days, since being out of school and possibly out of work soon, it's become increasingly difficult for you to make connections. Even though it's online, you still feel grateful to have another soul sharing common interests with you that you can socialize with and progress with. And God forbid it's a baddie with a strong stare and darling diva hair. We all know that's every one of us' weakness. On a day just like any other, during your lunch break, you're chatting in voice channel as per usual with that person. Something about, did you see the maintenance notice? My god, this is gonna be the 4th hotfix this week. How will we have time to train? As she lets out a sigh and exclaims that having a set of LBs must be so nice. How she would love to have that damage boost of +2 weapon attack. She can afford it, but she's just not sure if something like that is worth missing out a month of rent for. You feel empathetic. You just happen to have a set. You agree to lend it to her for her to test out the damage. At this point, you can probably tell where this is going. First mistake is to never trust anyone you meet online ever. And the second is for playing a Night Lord. Just like the last glimpse you caught of her sweet, roll coin fueled pixels, while the glimpse of us plays somberly through your Ryzen 9 RTX 5090 PC with a life-size Farina figurine encased in the corner apartment case, the last, final, but definitely not least worst type of hacker on Artale is your closest friend. Oh yeah, and it was a dude, by the way. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to stay safe out there. Click the video to the right to find out how you can prepare for the surge of players coming to Artale this summer, and click the left to watch whatever I uploaded last.